Well, it should be no surprise to us. Chuck Schumer bashed Donald Trump and then, as a hypocrite, ends up embarrassing himself. And then Kamala Harris gives her first speech and ends up embarrassing herself. I want to go through this as well as the biggest stories in the news with my guest, Michelle Tafoya. Michelle, thank you for joining me again.
Good to see you.
Oh, you too. My audience loves you. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come on. I want to go through a clip here that is just total hypocrisy. But really quickly, for those that don't know, Michelle Tafoya, many years in broadcasts, many years in sports. Now she has an incredible podcast where she brings on really, really great guests. And I'm going to put a link to that down below. I want to start off by reacting. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says that Trump has the lowest approval rating of any president in the last 80 years, said his first 100 days are a total flop. Let me put this on the screen and then we'll go through it together because this guy, he's a total hypocrite.
Yeah.
Americans are noticing. The polls this week showed Trump has the lowest 100-day approval rating since they started polling 80 years ago, the lowest. Even worse, 72% of Americans think it's likely that Trump's handling of the economy will walk us directly into a recession. In people who hate what Trump is proposing. Yes.
There's a poll out today that has your approval rating lower than any other congressional leader at 17%. Are you concerned that you may be a liability for your party?
Polls come and go. Our party is united. We're on our front foot. We're stepping forward, going after Trump and having real success.
Okay, so these polls absolutely obliterate Donald Trump. His first 100 days, they're the worst. Well, you're actually having the worst polling you've ever had. Polls come and go.
Yeah.
What's your reaction to that guy?
Genius, right? Just brilliant. I mean, it is hypocritical. That's all we can say. It's so stark. I'm so glad that this made it out there because people need to continue to see the lengths that politicians will go to justify the things that they're saying. And he said Trump's first 100 days have been, he talked about hell, he talked about chaos, he talked about all kinds of things. And yet our border is virtually sealed. And I think so many people who voted for Trump are thrilled about that, myself included. Some of us are willing to wait also to see how this tariff thing, resolves itself. And even though a politician can go on the stump and say, on the first day, I will bring down prices, we know what that really means is on the first day, I will set in motion the things that will bring down prices. That doesn't mean prices are going to fall the first day. So I love how Democrats hold Trump to one standard and themselves to quite another. It's a thing of beauty.
Yeah, I agree with you. Do you think Chuck Schumer is going to continue to be in the Senate? I mean, he's been in politics for like 50 years. Now you have the top person at the DNC raising money to specifically unseat him, to unseat some of the older, more well-known people, saying it's time to bring in a new progressive leader like AOC or Jasmine Crockett. Your thoughts, are we going to continue to get the bottom of the barrel in the Democrat Party, or is there going to be a rising star? What are your thoughts?
People continue to say that AOC is the rising star in the Democrat Party, that Bernie Sanders is taking her on this tour where they're complaining about the oligarchy on the one hand and flying private on the other. It's rich. But here's the thing. I've talked to people, for example, in New York, an area AOC knows well, and they know her well. And this person that I've spoken to, this is purely anecdotal, but says, yeah, I'm a Democrat, but trust me, I don't line up behind AOC. I mean, she really is trying to moderate her tone, but that's where I warn people to be very, very careful. Just because she's moderating her tone doesn't mean she's moderating her ideology or her approach to what she thinks America should look like. And she has told us many times, she thinks basically we should be a socialist country. So if she is the rising star, have at it, keep her out there. Kamala Harris did a speech in the last 24 hours that was, in my opinion, just brutal. She's a terrible speaker. And so if she wants to keep putting herself out there, fine, go have it. But Schumer keeps talking about how they're so unified in the Democrat Party. No, they're not. When you've got David Hogg, as you've mentioned, who is raising money to unseat his own party members, you're not unified. They are grasping.
The other thing is like, okay, on the things that you are unified on, it's like they're unified on keeping criminals in America.
Yeah.
Like that's a terrible platform to run on. Okay, what have you guys done for us while Trump was in office? We fought to keep people in the country. We fought for rapists. We fought for MS-13 gang members. We ignored children that survived cancer and women that were raped in Texas. But we got this guy back from El Salvador. I mean, I can't think, like, the only thing maybe stupider that they're running on that President Trump got big laughs in his Michigan speech for is they're like, these guys keep running on this talking point. We will raise your taxes.
Yeah.
Like, these are, I don't even know what they stand for anymore. They're certainly not the party of kindness. They're I don't know, your thoughts.
No, they're not. I mean, if they're trying to elevate this wife of this quote unquote Maryland man and make her look like this saintly woman who wants her husband back. Meanwhile, we discover more and more examples of how he abused her and their children. So, if they're gonna hang their hat on this issue, good luck to them. It's interesting. The more moderate Democrats, at least the Democrats I remember being moderate, I haven't heard from them in a long time. When was the last time you heard from Nancy Pelosi or any middle of the road? And she's fairly liberal, but she's a little bit more middle of the road than the Jasmine Crockett's of the world. So where have all these sort of normal Democrat voices gone? And if that really radical wing of their party is going to lead the way, it's going to lead them into years of losing. It's interesting. And you mentioned they are so busy taking trips to El Salvador to stand by this Maryland man. Have any of them called one of these angel families who have lost someone, whether it's be a drunk driving accident or flat out awful murder and rape, and reached out to them and said, this shouldn't have happened to you? It's really astonishing. The other issue they're standing behind still is this transgender ideology, all of this gender ideology. And I think especially when it comes to sports, that is a 95-5 issue, not even an 80-20 issue. So I don't know where they think this is going to get them. And they're listening to sycophants and the people that show up at their rallies, but that's still a small percentage of the American population.
Yeah. Sticking with sports and gender, I know that sports is your wheelhouse. Did I see that the United Kingdom, I guess their football club, decided they're not going to let transgender athletes play against women? Did you see anything about that this week?
Well, I haven't seen that, but it wouldn't surprise me given that the United Kingdom's Supreme Court has said we will now recognize women as being humans that are born female. It took the Supreme Court to make that declaration for Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the UK, to say, I'm glad we have clarity on this now. Since when did we not have clarity? Since you decided there was no clarity, since you decided to make this murky and virtue signaling and all the rest and empathetic. It's insane. There have been so many strong voices out there winning on this issue in the UK. That's one place that they're a bit ahead of us, and I hope it makes its way here.
Yeah, again, very sad that it had to go to the highest court in the land to decide there's a boy and there's a girl. And you're allowed to be confused or to genuinely believe that you are a different gender, but you can't get in a boxing ring and beat up on girls.
All right.
It's their scholarships, and you can't, it was insane to me that this was happening. The first time I saw this was out in California. This was probably maybe just before the COVID lockdowns. I remember seeing this video where there's this giant 45-year-old man in a man bun, a greasy man bun, and he's like gone back to the community college or local college, and he's literally like manhandling these girls. And I was like, why is there a dude beating up like girls that are in their first year of basketball at university? I don't know. It's just so bizarre to me.
Again, this is that, oh, we're empathetic. We understand that you're trans, and so we're going to let you play with the team that you identify with. It's, you could call that empathetic. It's empathetic to the one guy. It's not empathetic to the rest of the actual biological women who are on that team. But because the one guy is the quote unquote marginalized person in this, the minority in this, that's who they're going to side with every single time. They're going to side with this one extraneous person. Oh, but we got to accept him. We got to include him or her. Not everywhere. No, you can accept that that person identifies however they want. That doesn't mean they get to go slam girls around on a basketball field or in a swimming pool or anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, another thing that I saw in the news that was pretty shocking is, do you remember a couple of weeks ago, there were some people that were arrested for lighting Molotov cocktails on fire and throwing them through Teslas?
Yes.
Well, they ended up catching the person, and now that person is out back on the street. And the judge said, because they're confused about their gender, it made them go crazy and attack Elon Musk and try to burn down this Tesla. No jail time because they're transgender and there's just gender confusion. And so we need to be sympathetic to their mental illness, not sympathetic to the person who had a Molotov cocktail thrown through their windshield. It's insane to me.
It's insane. And again, it's abandoning ethics and what's right and what's wrong and what we all know is right and wrong in favor of protecting this person who's confused. A good way to unconfuse them is to say what you did was wrong and here's what's going to happen. Now, similarly, here in Minnesota where I live, we have this activist district attorney, Mary Moriarty. Now, we had one guy here who works in Tim Walz's government who I think he keyed several Teslas to the amount of $21,000 worth of damage. He got put in a diversion program. Then we have this young gal who I think keyed one or two Teslas, caused $7,000 worth of damage. She threw the book at her. So if you work for Tim Walz, if you work in the government, you're going to get a different level of justice than if you don't.
Yeah. I want to come back to Tim Walz because living in his state, you've got some unique insight that I think my audience might find interesting. Earlier this week, President Trump went into enemy territory. He went to ABC News. They tried to do this gotcha interview on him. And one of the main areas they tried to say was that this Kilmar Abrego Garcia is definitely not an MS-13 gang member. And they said, Mr. President, you're wrong. You're showing a photoshopped photo. And Trump's like, no, he has the tattoos. And they're like, no, that was Photoshop. Now, someone did Photoshop MS-13 because they were trying to show marijuana leaf,
happy face,
smiley face,
a
cross for the one, and then a skull for the three. Yeah. And he's like, I can show you that. And they're like, well, let's move on. And he's like, no, I'm not going to move on. You just called me a liar.
Yeah.
I want to pull up a clip from Congress just yesterday with Lindsey Graham, some of that I don't really care for, but he brought on, this is the head of the DEA, the Drug Enforcement, and he asks him specifically, is President Trump crazy and wrong? Here's what he had to say.
Based on your time as a DEA agent in the field, particularly in Mexico, these tattoos are consistent with MS-13 associations.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Do you know of any other set of combinations that would suggest some other organization this represents?
With this particular one, no, sir.
Based on your...
So this guy has decades of experience. He's arrested hundreds of MS-13. The FBI catalogs criminals based on their tattoos, right? Like, hey, we got a bank robbery. there's a Batman logo on someone's neck. Oh, we just happen to have this guy in our system, right?
Yeah.
So do you think that ABC News genuinely believed that President Trump was wrong, or was this a gotcha moment, or what are your thoughts?
I think that they really thought that the M, the S, the 1, and the 3 photoshopped was what Trump truly believed. And who knows? But what I also think is that this journalist went in there really looking to make a name for himself. And I'm going to be the one to get Trump to cave. And Trump did not. And that is pure typical Trump. I would also say that this guy, was just trying to control the interview. Let's move on. Let's move on to Ukraine. Sir, please. Ukraine. Sir, please. But I didn't think this journalist did himself any favors. So many journalists go in attack mode, and you can identify it like that. If you really were curious and you wanted to have a conversation, you wouldn't say, is America less respected because of you? You would say, how do you think your being president of the United States this time around has impacted the reputation of the United States of America? And give it use the old who, what, where, why, and how. Don't give a yes or no question. Fortunately for him, the president's willing to talk and engage. But if it's me, I just want to, when someone asks me a yes or no question, I just want to go, no, or yes, because you didn't get creative enough. And clearly you aren't looking for a conversation. You're looking for that old trick in Congress. Yes or no? Is hell a bad place? Yes or no? It's just, it's insane.
Yeah. There was one point I showed this on my show, so I won't show it again, but Trump just rips them for not covering honestly that President Biden had some level of dementia.
Correct. And
the Autopens, and he says, you guys wouldn't even cover that because you guys are fake news. And ABC is one of the worst. So he's insulting ABC to ABC's face on ABC News. It was incredible to watch him just roast this guy on live TV. It was just such a joy.
Well, all of this recent, we didn't cover it right. We missed it. Gosh darn it, we missed that story. No, you didn't. All of America could see what was happening to Joe Biden, and you, media, most of you, gaslighted us that what we were seeing was doctored, that it was cheap fakes, that it was doctored video, that it was all just this right-wing cabal to make Joe Biden look bad. No, it wasn't. We all knew it. And the reason we've lost faith in you is because you tried to gaslight us, not because you missed it. You didn't miss it. You're not that stupid.
Yeah. I want to tell you a story that changed my life and my mother-in-law's life. I noticed for a couple of years that my mother-in-law was really struggling to hear us and to be able to interact with grandchildren. And she just wasn't as social as she used to be. Well, as the holidays went by, we laughed, we watched movies, and I noticed the struggle. Well, I noticed that it was mostly coming from her hearing. And so that's when we got her MD hearing aids. And wow, what a difference. I saw her confidence go up. She wanted to connect with the world, be more social. Now, this podcast is sponsored by MD Hearing, and I'm thrilled to share this incredible product with you. They make high-quality, rechargeable hearing aids personalized to your hearing needs at a fraction of the cost of traditional hearing aids. Their Neo model costs 90% less than clinical hearing aids, and the discrete Neo XS is very small. This Neo XS, you can hardly see it in your ear. Now, right now, MD Hearing has cut the price in half. You can get a pair for just $297. Plus, there's a 45-day risk-free trial with 100% money-back guarantee. Visit shopmdhearing.com and use promo code Gardner to get a pair for $297. Plus a free extra charging case, a $100 value. Go do it right now. Improve your healing or give this gift to someone you love. It will bless their life. Oh, I hope more will come out about that. Let me talk about the Autopens for a second. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard revealed yesterday in an interview that Dr. Anthony Fauci was actually going to be charged for lying to Congress about COVID. He then petitioned for a pardon, and the Autopen gave it to him while Biden was out of office. So this guy was going to get into big trouble. Your thoughts on him, his behavior, and then this last-minute Autopen pardon?
I think those pardons really, you got to be curious about it. If it wasn't the president of the United States signing off on this, who was it? Who was it? Listen, I remember when Joe Biden got elected in 2020, and I thought, okay, well, at least we picked up some seats here and there, and you know, it can't be that bad. And it was so quickly, so much worse than that bad. It was as though, you know, I remember when they called Reagan this puppet president. I can't think of a more puppeted president than Joe Biden. He suddenly went way to the left, and as though it was the cool thing to do because he wanted to wear those aviators and be cool. So, you know, I'll let the cool kids at the table tell me what to say and what to do. So all of this stuff is very suspicious to me. Not suspicious in like, ooh, what's the conspiracy? It never made sense to me that this was actually Joe Biden governing. And so now that we know how incompetent he was because of his mental acuity or lack thereof, we got to know who was doing stuff. And so this whole revelation about Fauci is fascinating. It does not surprise me in the least.
Yeah. I do love all the stuff that Tulsi Gabbard is revealing. And Alex Jones said yesterday on his show that people high up in the White House say there are big bombshell stories coming, but not for about 30 to 60 days. They're building cases against somebody for something. I don't even know what it could be. But when she said that Fauci was going down and then last minute gets this Autopen pardon, I was like, oh my gosh, we almost got him, you know? So go ahead.
No, again, all kinds of red flags, but it's interesting the way that they've made decisions, that they've withheld a certain number of things to come out until the first 100 days were over. I think they've wanted the focus to be solely on what this administration is doing. And now I think some other shoes are going to drop.
Yeah, it's almost like, oh, wow, that's a great story. Save it for day 101. And
Yeah.
then we'll drop that one.
Right.
That's going to be great. Although, you know, I was just thinking, you know, Biden started by manipulating the election when he had Secretary of State Antony Blinken call in a favor to have 51 former intelligence agents lie to the American people about the Hunter Biden laptop. Then the FBI turned a blind eye. They got the New York Post taken down. They took over Twitter, Facebook, hijacked all of that. Maybe it was Antony Blinken that gave Anthony Fauci, you know, maybe it started with Blinken and ended. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's speculation.
There's a lot of speculation to be had. There were, I think, a lot of bad actors in that administration, and Antony Blinken, certainly one of them. So it's all very interesting, and it's grotesque to the average American to learn. It's just, your stomach starts to turn when you learn that these institutions in which we'd really like to have faith, like the FBI, like the Justice Department, you'd really like to have faith in them. But God, they've screwed up a lot of things, and purposely. And then you go, how I want so bad to have someone I trust and believe in to protect this country. But when I see the way they operate, you feel like you're in it all alone.
Yeah. Yep. I have felt that as I've gone through all of this. Okay. Kamala Harris, she didn't get 300 grand for this speech like Biden's hoping to get, but she was asked to give her first speech. And she said, America is in trouble because Americans are abandoning their American ideals because of Donald Trump. What do you think she's referencing? And in your estimation, are the American people abandoning their American ideals because of Donald Trump?
I think the Americans who are abandoning their American ideals are those that line up and protest for Palestine and for Hamas. I think that is the real danger that we're in. And I dropped a podcast Thursday, May 1st, that is fascinating in that way, where I talked to a woman who's formerly a Muslim, formerly an employee of the FBI, and she has since left both, and her reflections on what's going on right now. I think Kamala Harris is talking about these deportations. I think they really think that this is where they're going to make hay. You saw Michelle Obama on a podcast say that's what keeps her up at night. And so I think that they're trying to make people feel really bad. And that's why they're finding these any story they can cling to that suggests that we're evil for sending people out of our country who are not citizens of this country. I think that's where they're really trying to shift the argument. So again, the administration and all of us need to continue to amplify the stories of people who have been hurt, of people who have lost their children to fentanyl. You know, I mentioned earlier, drunk driving accidents, rape, murder, of kids, little children who are being trafficked. I don't know. We need to focus much more on that. And if the Democrats want to hang their hat on the perpetrators of these things rather than the victims, let's just see how far that takes them. I don't imagine it'll take them very far.
Yeah. What's weird is, and hopefully this doesn't get my video demonetized or something, but like the Democrats didn't seem to mind that some of these women coming up through Central America and Mexico were being raped 2, 3, 4 times in order to get into America. Mm-hmm. And it is sad that they will likely be removed. But your focus is on their removal and not the hell that they went through because you guys dangled a golden carrot. Get here for a job, get here for a free apartment, free cell phone. The American taxpayer welfare program will take care of you. I mean, the carrot was big enough and gold enough that 15 million people said, this is my one shot to get into America. They didn't care about the hell that they went through. Now they only care about, are they going to get due process like a citizen, or are they going to be removed back to their home country? I just think they seem to have their focus always in the wrong place.
I agree. And I think that in particular, when you look at the amount of money that's being spent to support all of these non-citizens, when actual citizens are just being forgotten again, and living paycheck to paycheck, and understanding that they might not have an apartment because, it's got to go to someone who's here illegally, or that they have to wait twice as long in the emergency room, or that their kids are learning more slowly now because we have to make accommodations for kids who don't speak English. It's not that we don't have a heart for these people. It's that there is a process. I've likened it to this. You open your door one day and your lawn is full of people, really needy people, and they all want to come into your house because you have resources. How many of them can you actually let in and stay there before it's too full, too packed, too unwieldy, and that you actually can't support any of them anymore? That's what we're getting to. People need to remember that this country can only do so much for so many. And I think the people who deserve to be first in line are citizens of this country, not non-citizens who came here the wrong way, particularly the criminals.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty common sense, don't you?
It's like, it makes so much sense to my brain that when I hear the opposite argument, I'm like, am I taking crazy pills? Like,
I know. I don't.
And here's another one that's rich. Now the Democrats are like, do you know how much of your taxpayer money President Trump wants to waste flying these people home?
I actually had a friend present that to me. It's going to be so expensive to send them home. And I said, do you know how much we're spending keeping them here? And she kind of thought about it and went, I mean, it's amazing how much they project, the hypocrisy that they're willing to use. And, what's going to happen to the price of all the crops that they pick? So what you really want is cheap labor. Is that what you're saying? I mean, let's be honest about what it is you're standing up for. It's you people who we all know the original sin of this country was slavery, but you're okay with really unpaid labor and a lot of times kids forced into labor because they came from another country. It really needs to continue to be harped upon and revealed, and we can't be afraid to do it just because someone's going to call us a xenophobe or a whatever phobe or a racist. We got to be no longer afraid of those names because they use them so much they've lost all meaning.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, your friend and others, they didn't seem bothered when Biden flew hundreds of thousands of illegals into the country on taxpayer money in the dark of night and then lied about it until they couldn't bury the story anymore. And then they said it was easier than coming across the border.
Yeah.
But now you want to fly them home with a plane ticket. And they're like, no, they should stay here and get 3 meals a day, more money from Social Security than our citizens, $21,000 a month in free hotel stay. Like, come on, do some math, use your brain.
No, they don't want to because I think that they are so overcome with emotion. And this is really the difference, I think, between liberals and conservatives, or a major difference. Liberals think with emotion and conservatives think with facts. And I just think that, it's easier to let your emotions run your life than it is for reality to run your life. We live in a world as it is, not in a world as we want it to be. And we can work toward a world as we want it to be. But in the meantime, there are some unfair things in life. But I wouldn't even call this unfair. It was unfair that this country threw open its doors to anyone and everyone who wanted to come here. That was unfair to the American citizens.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, 2 lightning questions for you, and I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to put some direct links to the Michelle Tafoya podcast down below so people can find you easily. You're in sports. President Trump said, you know who I want to see run for the Democrat Party is Stephen A. Smith, the sportscaster. What are your thoughts on him potentially being the front runner for the Democrat Party?
Well, he's probably better than a whole lot of candidates that they have. I don't think Stephen really wants to do it. I think he feels a need. I think he sees how crazy his party has gone and he wants to help straighten it out. I think Trump was in a situation right there where he was being interviewed by, Chris Cuomo, Bill O'Reilly, and Stephen A. Smith on a set. And they said, what do you think about Stephen A. Smith? He wasn't going to say, Stephen, don't run. You're crazy. So he said, hey, why not? He's a talented broadcaster. That's a very Trumpian thing to say. And so, but I don't think Stephen A. Smith can win.
No, I don't think he can, which made me think maybe Trump was being cordial, but also saying, yeah, go ahead and run. We'd love to beat you.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I like Stephen A. Smith. He has some pretty good sense. Every now and then I think, this guy's being red pilled, and then he'll fall back into to something. It's like watching Bill Maher. Bill Maher's like, he's heading in the right direction. Then I'm an old school liberal, and he falls right back down into the pit.
Yeah.
So, but the dinner between Bill Maher and Trump, I guess, went really well.
Yeah.
Maybe Stephen A. Smith should go to dinner with Trump, and then he might have a similar experience.
True.
Okay, final question. You're there with Tim Walz, maybe to your chagrin, but he just skipped a governor debate. First time in 40 years this has happened. He publicly admitted on a show that he was picked for vice president because as a white man, he knows how to speak code to other white men to get them to vote by talking about football, trucks, and beer. Is Tim Walz the white male vote whisperer? And what are your thoughts on his political future?
Apparently he's not, because it didn't work. And everyone saw right through it. He couldn't load a gun. He looked like a fool trying to fix his car. It was so transparent what they were trying to do. If it was subtle and, code speaking to white guys, and he said he was their permission structure to vote for a black woman. I can vote for a black woman without Tim Walz being attached to her. I think most men could too, if she's the right person for the job, but not because some white dude gave me permission to do so. Tim Walz is one of the most, I just think of him as a clown, and he really does believe in himself. And obviously there are people who believe in him too. And I don't get it. Come to Minnesota and see how, just as Gavin Newsom has allowed California to rust, Tim Walz has allowed Minnesota to become a place that is unrecognizable to me now, and many people are leaving.
Yeah. It's very weird to say white supremacy is the biggest problem that America has, and we need a person of color. But the only way to get a person of color into office is through a white person who can speak code to other white people. Like, I voted for Mia Love here in Utah. Sadly, she just died of brain cancer.
I know.
She is beautiful, great family values. She was just a great candidate. That's why I voted for her.
Condoleezza Rice.
Yes.
I would vote for her for president in a heartbeat, because she's really smart and really patriotic and knows her stuff and is strong and has a spine, and she doesn't cackle. I'm sorry, I can't take Kamala Harris serious on any level. So no, there was no way in hell I was going to vote for her. I didn't care what color she was. So yes, but you're right to say, oh, you're racist if you vote for her. But by the way, we're going to set up a permission structure to white guys, so you will vote for it. It's just, it tells you everything you need to know about the left.
Yeah. I wonder if JD Vance gave a permission structure to vote for Trump. No, I don't think so. I think he was just a good choice there. So Michelle, thank you so much for coming on. My audience always enjoys these conversations. I love having bold, strong, intelligent women on, and you're definitely one of those. Thank you so much. I'm going to put a direct link to your X account as well as the Michelle Tafoya podcast, so that people can follow you. When do you put out shows, just so people have an idea?
We drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And Wednesdays in particular are a lot of fun. We call it Wild Card Wednesday. We play the best video we can find from the week on the internet and just have a lot of fun with it. So, but we have great guests. Steve Hilton coming up, who's running for governor in California. John Saylor of the Manhattan Institute talking about how higher education has been basically just kind of taken into custody by activists. So some